Hey everyone, Dominic here with the Ravening Hordes Game Club in Saskatoon. This time we've got Vampire Covenant versus the Empire of Sonstal. We played 5,000 points. It was Dawn Assault with Secure the Target as the secondary objective. Here's a look at the battlefield. Starting at the back far left corner there is a hill, a forest, a field, a hill, another hill, impassable, forest, and impassable. For the vampires, down here starting at the left, we've got a unit of vampire knights with a vampire courtier in there. Next to that, big unit of zombies, a bat swarm. Up front there's a varkolak, 10 wraiths, another bat swarm, 40 sword and board skeletons with my general vampire count in there. There's another bat swarm, and 31 halberds, Barrow Knights or Barrow Guard with a Barrow King in there as well, and finally a Shrieking Horror. For the Empire, he's got some light infantry, he's got some readers, a big unit of Imperial Guard with a prelate and a BSB in that unit. At the back there, he's got an altar hidden in the tree. He's got a mortar there, a unit of Griffin Knights with a Knight Commander on Griffin, and beside that he's got a cannon, one unit of Knights up front there with great weapons. The unit of Knights in the back is upgraded to be Knightly Orders with cavalry picks. There's a Prelate and a Inquisitor in that unit, and then he's got a unit of light infantry, and to the left of the light infantry he actually has a steam tank as well. Vampires took turn 1, so let's get started. There's a picture of the Vanguard moves that we both did. You see the varkolak sped up, the readers moved up on the hill there too. That's pretty much all I did for moving on my turn. My lines kind of advanced a little bit slowly. I was okay with the position for turn 1. I didn't really have a need to rush across the table at this point. The varkolak saw a gap between the mortar and the Imperial Guard, so he sped in between there and then into magic. So I cast the Hand of Glory and sacrificed on the skeleton unit, so they all have an Aegis save, so the mortar isn't going to be too big of an issue against them, I hope. I did Hasten the Hour, and I picked out the unit champion out of that forward unit of knights with great weapons. And finally, I bumped up this unit of zombies here. That's pretty much it. There was no shooting, so I was out of range. That's what the table looks like as we go into Empire of Sonstal turn 1. So, as I said, here we go into this. I didn't take good pictures of the movement here for them, but everything kind of moved up. The readers moved up to get just in range of shooting up the Screaming Horror. Tank moves up in that direction. You can see him measuring. Everything else kind of advances. The one move that he did do, the general actually popped out of this unit and came to stand in front, kind of boxing in the varkolak, but then he did move the Imperial Guard forward, leaving the gap for the varkolak to just pivot on the spot and get out of dodge there. But yeah, so yeah, magic. I forget what he cast here. He did some of the blessings on the back unit of knights over here. I kind of let that go off. The only one he had of importance that was range damage was Ice and Fire. He tried to do that on the varkolak and I stopped it. In shooting, he shot the mortar at the Wraiths to try and get some wounds off. He only caused 4 wounds and I made all 4 saves. The light infantry and the readers all shot at the Screaming Horror, hit a couple times but failed to wound. And then finally both the steam tank and the cannon shot at my knights. The cannon itself hit but failed to wound, and then the tank just missed. The light infantry in the back are actually out of range. So that's kind of what the field is looking like as we go into turn 2. So for turn 2, I think again I didn't really do too terribly much for moving. I more or less kept my positioning actually where I was for most of it. The only thing that really moved up was the Screaming Horror and the Barrow Guard moved up. The varkolak, you'll see in a little bit, also got out of that positioning too. So after that, went into magic. This magic phase was actually a complete whiff. I failed 2 of my casting rolls, and then he just dispelled the other stuff. So nothing there. Right into shooting. I only killed 3 of the 5. They did panic though, and they fled. And that's kind of pretty much it. As you can see, the varkolak here is actually hidden. Maybe not so good, but he's actually hidden on the other side of the altar back here. With enough space, he can slip through this backside as well. So into Empire, turn 2. He does some maneuvering to trap the varkolak in a little bit. Again, there's still enough space on that backside of the table edge there for him to sneak by. The rest of his lines kind of move up a bit. Not fully, not aggressively. He's getting close to the objective there. It's not a very far charge for those zombies downhill if they want to go into the knights. But into magic phase, he gets 2 blessings, I believe. Reroll fail to hit and reroll fail to wound on those knights. I let them go off because I don't really plan on fighting them. And over here, I believe he did try to do something else there. Another blessing on those guys. Into shooting, again, he shoots the mortar at the Wraiths, wounds 4 times, and made all 4 saves. Over here, he shoots but misses at the knights again with the cannon and the cannon on the tank. Those readers did rally. The light infantry took some shots at my Screaming Horror, but failed to wound again. And that's pretty much it as we're going into Vampire's turn 3. So into Vampire turn 3, I kind of skipped ahead there for you. These knights declare a charge, and the Empire knights fled. I then redirected the charge into the tank, which made it in, no problem. The varkolak sped out of behind his little unit there. You can see a lot better all the space he has to maneuver and get out of there. So now he's back here facing all of this nonsense. And that's kind of where I move up for everything else. So I put the bats right in front of these guys to chaff so they can't charge anywhere else. And then I've got a really good setup here, so when they do and they're sitting out in the open, both of those units can go in and take care of it. The Wraiths move up in front of the Griffin Knights. I think that'll be a pretty decent fight for the Wraiths. And that's pretty much it. The Screaming Horror did move up more, and now he's in cannon range, unfortunately, but no more hill protection. Into magic, I decided to raise a unit of zombies just for doing sacrifices and whatnot. Over here I did Whispers of the Veil on the tank, and as you can see there, I miscast. So it did go off, and I ended up suffering a wound from the miscast. Into shooting, the Screaming Horror takes care of those last 2 readers, and then we go into combat. Over here, I charge in. I actually only did 3 wounds. I was maybe hoping for a little bit more, but it's not bad. Then I reformed to move down a bit and get my character on the far flank. So that's kind of what it was there. And that's what the table is looking like as we go into Empire of Sonstal turn 3. So those knights come into the flank pretty easily. The Griffin Knights go charge into the Wraiths. Those two make it. This turn, these knights back here do rally. And he also declares a charge from that altar. Can whip around the backside there too and get into the rear of my varkolak. So he declares that charge and makes it in as well. Charges the bats, makes it in no problem. There's that one. And then finally he moves that general up to finally hold that varkolak in place and try and finish him off. So again, that's kind of what the table is looking like as we go into magic. He got the flaming attacks and the damage, did some damage to the bats. I shot a mortar at my skeletons, killed off a bunch. And then he also put reroll fail to wound on... Oh, sorry. Yeah, in magic he also put reroll fail to wound on that unit of Imperial Guard as well. Into shooting, the cannon takes a shot at Screaming Horror, as do these guys here, and puts 3 wounds on it from the cannon. The infantry still don't do anything. Over here, he did a wound to me. I did 3 wounds back. I'm still down by 1, so I suffered another wound, but then I passed a vampiric roll, so still just 1 wound on me. Over here, they get rid of the bats, no problem, and reform just as I assumed. And over here, the Inquisitor issues a challenge. I accept with my character. He only had to do 2 wounds, and it slipped through. Crumbled out the rest of the unit behind with, I think, 1 left over kind of thing. So it was close, but still couldn't hold on for another turn. Over here, he did, I think, 2 wounds to me, and I did 3 wounds to him. So it was a push. And then I reformed out to maximize my attacks. And that's what the table's looking like as we go into turn 4 for the Vampire Covenant. So declare both these charges here, and they both make it no problem. The zombies declare that charge down the hill to the knights. They make it in. And then the Screaming Horror kind of moves up, getting within range of the light infantry. The zombies move down off the hill, and my bat swarms just kind of move around. The varkolak did turn around in the end of the combat phase, so now he's not in the rear. And then it's magic. So I believe I did some raise wounds on the skeleton unit there. I actually did, no, I did it in a 12-inch bubble. So I got a wound back on the Wraiths, the Screaming Horror, and raised a bunch here as well. I don't think I did very much else for magic there. I think that was pretty much it. I actually think I've got Hand of Glory off on those Barrow Knights, or the Barrow Guard as well. I think that was my other spell I was able to get off this turn. Besides that, I've only got 3 spells, and magic is kind of dwindling for the rest of the game on both parts. But then we go into combat, we fight this one out. My vampire goes first, kills the prelate on the corner, so taking away his hatred. His Inquisitor goes next, or not his Inquisitor, his captain BSB goes next. He does a couple wounds, 2 wounds I think to the Barrow Guard, giving the unit battle focus. I swing back with as many attacks. I put 9 attacks onto the Captain BSB, and we killed him. So both characters are gone. The unit's no longer going to be stubborn. I also killed, I think, 10 or 11 rank and file dudes. He peels off, I think, 8 or 9 wounds to me total. So I win, and he breaks. We catch him down. As you can see in the center there, the Wraiths finished off the remaining Griffin Knights, no problem that round. And the zombies are just going to tie up that block unit of Knights. So into turn... Oh, wait, there was another one here. Yeah, the varkolak finished off the altar and just turned back around. There's no way I could get both units in the front, so I'm getting flanked either way, so I just decided to take it. So yeah, into Empire turn 4, both the Knight unit and the Knight commander go into the varkolak. The tank swings around. Those light infantry, I think they just stood there to take some shots at the Wraiths. Into magic phase, he didn't have a whole lot. He's got the 3 different prayers for the rest of the game, and I stop each one of them each round. Into shooting, he shoots at the screaming horror, doesn't do anything. Oh right, there was something even more. So shoots the light infantry, they don't do anything. Shoots the mortar at the Wraiths, and it misfires, and it can't shoot for the rest of the game. He shot his main cannon, and it misfired, taking a wound. And then he shot the cannon on the steam tank, and it also misfired, and can't shoot for the rest of the game now. Over there, the Knight Commander does 2 more wounds to the varkolak, I think, and I did a couple wounds to the unit. I think only 2. No, 1 there, because 1 had already died. So I did 1 wound back, and then I crumble. It reforms to face. This fight continues on. I actually took a knight out, surprisingly. And that's kind of what things are looking like as we're going into Vampire Covenant turn 5. So the Screaming Horror declares a charge against those light infantry. They fail their terror check. They flee. The Barrow Guard declare a charge against the mortar. And that's it for movement, or for charges. The big skeleton block reforms on the spot. They're kind of holding that objective. And those Wraiths move through the tank, cause 2 more wounds to it. And they're facing off into this direction here. Into magic, I did Hand of Glory on the Barrow Guard again. Sacrificed to get the whole unit, and that was the casting roll. This is only the only real spell that I have of importance. So it went off. No, sorry, the Hand of Glory went off, and then I threw my last remaining dice to raise wounds. That's what it was. To raise wounds on these zombies over here. He threw all of his dice, and I did manage to get it off, and a bunch of zombies come back. I also raised a new unit of zombies out front there. And that's pretty much it. This fight continues on. I'm on the losing side, didn't cause any wounds. The Barrow Guard finish off the mortar that was up here and overrun, getting parallel to the zombies. It was only a 9-inch overrun into that Knight Commander, which would have been lucky, but that's okay. So into Empire turn 5, that Knight Commander goes into the Barrow Guard, and the Knight unit goes into that raised unit of zombies. The tank goes into the zombies to try and finish them off. Everything makes it in. Magic again doesn't really do much. I think he got even if you got the spells off, it didn't make a difference to stop them on that unit that's fighting the zombies back there. So into shooting, it shot the. That's what happened. This time it misfired. Last time it didn't misfire. This time it misfired. Hits the screaming horror, wounds, and I make my save on a 6-up. So he's alive. Over here in combat, they easily finished off the zombies, no problem. The knights finish off the raised. Actually, no, they're still fighting the raised unit. They didn't. They kind of whiffed a little bit actually, and I think there's 4 zombies left after the crumble. Against the Knight Commander, he actually wins. I didn't do a single wound to him, but I only crumble like 1 guy, so and then reformed the ranks. Vampire Covenant turn 6. So those Wraiths move through. I only had to do 2 wounds. There's 8 attacks there, and fail all of them. So the tank is alive. The bats declared a charge against the cannon, makes it in no problem, and that's pretty much it. This screaming horror got closer to get in range, just if I want to raise some wounds on it. And magic. I think I threw my dice at a spell and failed the casting roll. I think I did a 12-inch bubble raise and rolled so low it didn't even go off. In combat, he finishes off the zombies and kind of pivots on the spot. His plan was to sneak past my unit, just to march past and go into contesting of the objective. He did have the movement, but then in this combat against the Knight Commander, I killed the Knight Commander and I reformed just to mess with those plans. Reformed wide so that he can't actually get the movement around me now. That's kind of what things are looking like. The cannon, it's just holding there. Didn't do any wounds. So Empire turn 6. The light infantry decided to go and charge into the bats, and for what it was worth, the other units just moved up a little bit. He didn't want to try and fight the tank versus those Wraiths, so he just stood there. It had misfired earlier in the game, so it can't shoot at the screaming horror, and that's pretty much it. Fight the combat. He gets half points for the bats, and that's where the game ends. So it was a really fun game. Again, it was a little bit lucky there that his war machines couldn't take out the screaming horror there to get the extra bit of points. Not that it actually did a lot based on what it potentially could have done against all that armor, but that's okay. Did up the points at the end. It was a 13-7 split for the Vampire Covenant. Our league, we award extra points for being fully painted and extra points for every 500 points above 4,500 points played. So the final score of this game was 14-9, or 14-9 for the Vampire Covenant. Again, I hope you guys enjoy the battle reports, and stay tuned for the next one.